Hi, I'm Mike Hamilton. This is NewsJacker. Greetings again from fabulous Bremerton, Washington, here in Kitsap County. We are part of Washington Congressional District 6, which is one of the highest concentrations of military anywhere in the country. It's intentional that we're here because fundamentally the problem that we solve for our customers is a people problem. And we therefore have inherited the responsibility for solving that people problem. And transitioning military is a huge resource and differentiator for us. We have Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and U.S. Coast Guard in our SOC operation, and we are really proud of that. I didn't serve. This is how I serve. On to the news. So today we're going to talk politics, privacy, and stick around for my favorite phrase lately, collateral cyber damage. Starting with a couple events around the midterm elections. Prior to the midterm vote, it seems Twitter deleted more than 10,000 accounts that sought to discourage U.S. people from voting. This is a little teeny drop in a very large bucket. Twitter in particular seems to have a lot of trouble knocking down all the bot and Russian troll activity, despite it being right out in the open. Come on, Jack. Bigger problem, in my view, is voter gullibility, but that's not my swim lane. Facebook also set up a war room to review and remove content, but that seemed to be more PR than anything else, and the problem is not seriously being addressed. Around the election, a lot of talk about our need to elect fewer lawyers and start thinking about people that have backgrounds in technology. So problematically, our ability to create policy around technology severely lags the rate of change of technology itself, and this is going to bite us. It already has. So we got 9 new lawmakers with backgrounds in STEM, which is another small drop in a large bucket, but the change is going in the right direction. Sector and regulatory news. A poll of 618 health sector organizations suggests that about 30% don't have full IT security programs. Covered entities under HIPAA are still checking many of those compliance boxes, but the requirement for a CISO, someone responsible and accountable for IT security who routinely reports to an executive committee, is a foundational step that is going unaddressed. It's not surprising because a lot of these organizations are having difficulty just keeping the lights on. This is tough to prioritize. But it's also another example of management by landmine. The inevitable event will occur, and the lack of leadership and reporting is not going to be received well once the toothpicks and Q-tips come out in a regulatory audit. As an aside, this has made the virtual CISO consulting offering quite popular, and a way of meeting requirements while managing the costs of recruiting and retention. Again, we inherit that people problem. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons I created Cybersecurity. I don't want to see all these organizations go without a CISO, whether they're virtual or not. Also, health sector, check out our CISO acquisition checklist, downloadable from the Cybersecurity site. With all the consolidation going on in the health sector right now, there is a bit of guidance here that may help you avoid inheriting an IT security nightmare as you expand your network of clinics or hospitals. Finance sector. The SEC is getting serious about enforcing IT security as it relates to internal financial controls and fraud activity. So we've talked here before about New York statute for the finance sector, the FTC as an enforcement vehicle using deceptive trade practices as a hammer, the FFIEC examiners looking hard at third-party security management and the effectiveness of those management efforts. And now here comes the SEC. The report released on October 26 articulates the SEC's new strategy to enforce the Exchange Act's internal control provisions against public companies that fail to adjust their controls to account for all of the digital fraud that's going on right now. So essentially, repackaging this, it means that public corporations need to start using the fraud detection controls that banks routinely use. Nation state and military. So the U.S. has prepared plans for a cyber attack against Russia. More correctly, we let it be known that we'd specifically prepared a response for signs of election tampering. More significantly, U.S. assets were authorized to go ahead and establish the beachhead, gain access to systems so that if we needed to pull the logical trigger, everything would be in place. Now, did that serve as any kind of a deterrent? I guess we'll never know, but the new norm is now upon us. If you cyber us, we're going to cyber you right back, and it's going to be worse. Along those same lines, the U.S. has actually conducted a drill to determine our course of action during an all-out cyber attack by the Chinese government. This could take on different forms. My favorite to noodle on is large-scale financial fraud using the data that's been collected over the numerous breaches over the past years, including, for example, the Office of Personnel Management. So everyone starts simultaneously having problems with credit accounts being opened and inaccessible funds and more. The consensus is if we retaliate under conditions like that, the private sector is going to feel the brunt of these actions, and there's a reluctance from the private sector to allow the military to escalate. So the military says yes, business says please don't. So my takeaway, get used to the term collateral cyber damage because it's coming to us. Privacy and surveillance. New York lawmakers have proposed legislation to give law enforcement the authority to review 3 years of social media and internet search history before allowing persons to buy a firearm. So would that make our militias well regulated? No. But the intent is clear here, right? We want to keep firearms out of the hands of those that would do harm to innocent people. Seems to make sense. Privacy-wise, it sounds creepy on the face of it. I assume this is going to involve review of materials and activities that people have not made public. So I expect to see this go up and way up, probably to the top of the courts. Finally, Senator Wyden has proposed legislation that would make company executives subject to criminal fines and imprisonment in the unregulated market for private data. If a consumer opts out of having his or her data sold, and it happens anyway, executives can be fined not more than $5 million or 25% of the largest amount of annual compensation the person received during the previous 3-year period. Prisoned not more than 20 years or both. Now, that's a hammer. So this is a real sign of the times. Consumers are fed up with being constantly mined for information that makes us more compliant consumers. This is a great idea and probably will not be turned into law, but combine this with more tech-savvy lawmakers and this is not going to go away, and it's about time. I'm Mike Hamilton. This is NewsJacker.